What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name is Kyle. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. We're going to be finishing up my series here, looking at, we go division by division, reviewing what happened last year and kind of projecting what the team might do in 2025. We just covered the AFC West. We're going to be looking at the NFC West in this one. Let me pull up my screen share here for you guys and see what's going on here. I do have all the videos up already. You know, we covered all the other 7 divisions here. You guys can check those videos out and get caught up on those. And we're going to just hop right into it. And I'm going to try and do this as fast as I can, muy rapid, and see what we can do. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals. We got year 2 of Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing. We saw some nice things. This was a full season of Kyler Murray. We didn't get a full season of Kyler Murray in Gannon's first year, but we had some nice moments for a while there. The Cardinals were winning the NFC West. They looked like a potential playoff team, and then they kind of just fell apart at the end. They did go finish 8-9, but I think if you look at what happened in 2023, they would go 4-13. They improved to 8-9. That's a nice step forward, and now we know the Cardinals are a team they got something to believe in and kind of keep moving forward with. And they still have a few holes, don't get me wrong, but I think this team is not one of the bottom feeder teams that we thought of them potentially being in 2024. So the big difference in 2024, you know, you have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. and you have a full season of Kyler Murray. The rest kind of just stayed the same. Like Trey McBride was still really freaking good. James Conner was still really freaking good. We draft Trey Benson, and honestly, Trey Benson looked really, really good too. He just, you know, James Conner stayed healthy, so we didn't need to see Trey Benson in a feature role at all. So I do think, you know, this team bringing it back and just getting all these guys back healthy, hopefully adding another weapon at the receiver position. I think that's like the big key thing here. We love Marvin Harrison Jr. They need to figure out ways to get him the ball better. In 2025, Michael Wilson's fine. He's just kind of like a number 3 receiver here, but Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, like they had 4 receivers stay healthy all year long. But we need to upgrade wide receiver 2 here pretty massively. I mean, I could just a slot receiver, put Ibuka on this team, put, you know, some speed on this team, something else. They just missed that extra element, you know, offensively here. But just reviewing the numbers here, Kyler Murray was fine. He ran the ball well, 5 touchdowns, almost 600 rushing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a decent yards per attempt, 3,800 passing yards, a nice completion percentage. So that's pretty nice to see. You know, I think that might have been up there with, some of his career years of, you know, 69 and 67%. So he was throwing the ball well enough, but the Cardinals just have, and I drafted Kyler Murray in my most important league in 2024, and it did not go very well for me. He was my QB1, and a lot of times he didn't perform as a QB1. There's maybe a handful of weeks where I was very happy with what I got from Kyler Murray, but for the most part, watching this team play was very, very frustrating. They couldn't get Marvin Harrison the ball consistently enough or get him good targets. A lot of dinking and dunking with Trey McBride. James Conner was fantastic. He was the engine of this offense for the most part of the year, but it just seemed like something stupid would happen to the Cardinals, whether it's a sack, it's a fumble, it's a penalty. It's just so many errors, and this team just needs to clean that up. But from 2023 to 2024, we do see a lot of growth in pretty much every statistic for them. Touchdowns, yards per play, just efficiency went up in 2024. And I think we have a solid base now where we expect them to add talent at the receiver position and hopefully, you know, improve offensive line, improve the defense that can make them, you know, just be better in general. And I think the Cardinals are going to be a sleeper team to make the playoffs in 2025. But James Conner coming back for 2025, I expect him to be the lead back, but we're going to see more Trey Benson in 2025. And I just think with Conner's injury history, Trey Benson's one of the best players that you could put on your bench if you're drafting in best ball leagues right now. I think they gave Conner some money, so he's definitely staying with the team. But I do want to see more of Trey Benson, you know, 4.62 yards per carry. He was a great receiver, only on 6 targets, but he did catch the ball at almost 10 yards a clip. And then, you know, DeMercado, Michael Carter, those guys are just kind of the backups there to the backup. But the running game is fine. Conner and Benson, I love that duo. But again, Harrison, you know, he's a really good player. He made some awesome catches. He led this team in touchdowns. He's a huge red zone threat. They just did not. I don't know if they schemed him properly enough. 62 catches on 116 targets. That should be in the 70s. Like, he should have had a lot more catches. We need to find layups for him. You know, we need to get him open in slants and screens and situations where they can just get the ball to him and let him do what he does. And that was kind of one of the things on him. He's not a great yards after catch kind of guy, but he's still a fantastic route runner and receiver. We need to see him unlocked a little bit in this offense. Michael Wilson, 4 touchdowns. He was the number 2 receiver on this team. But again, I kind of view him as more of like a third receiver. I think we can improve this team by bringing in a Luther Burden, bringing in a Emeka Ubuka, something that could help this passing game elevate to the next level and help Kyler Murray. Because there's just too many times where they're dropping back to pass, and he can dump it off to Trey McBride real quick. And otherwise, some of these receivers just weren't getting open quick enough for him, which was a problem. And then, oh my God, Trey McBride, 111 catches, 1,100 yards, only 2 touchdowns. It took him forever to get the touchdowns, but he did get there. We need to make that a focal point, get Trey McBride involved more in the red zone in 2025. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the growth that we saw from the Cardinals year over year. It was still frustrating football at various points throughout the season, but I think you're excited about the 2025 prospects here. And hopefully, again, they can draft a receiver to help this team get a little bit more dynamic passing the ball. And hopefully, Kyler Murray, his first full year back from that knee injury, hopefully he's even better in 2025. Let's move on to who's next here. The LA Rams? Let's talk about the Rams here. The Rams, of course, Sean McVay's been there forever. This is a good one because we have Mike LaFleur, second year calling plays here. And we have pretty much the same cast and characters as we did in 2023. Same result, 10-7, 10-7. This team actually regressed massively in pretty much all the way across the board here. The one thing that did go up was completion percentage, which was good to see. Yards per attempt came down a little bit, as well as passing attempts and rushing attempts both came down. So they ran less plays. They didn't score as many touchdowns as they did in 2023. Still a good offense, but it just didn't really have quite the upside as it did at various points in 2023. So we see Matthew Stafford throw for about 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He still can't run the ball, but he can still throw the ball just as good as anybody. But he does have a limited fantasy ceiling because he just can't run the ball. And again, there was parts where Puka Nacua was missing from this lineup. I think Cooper Kupp missed games from this lineup. Didn't really have a tight end all year. And now we're looking at potentially Cooper Kupp leaving and Matthew Stafford leaving. So I really don't know how to project the 2025 LA Rams. I'm going to assume Stafford's on the move. I'm going to assume Cooper Kupp's on the move. So you have Kieran Williams and Puka Nacua to build around. And that's about it. Blake Corum, I didn't like Blake Corum coming into the season, especially his draft profile. Was questionable, and he just never could take away from Kieran Williams. Kieran had a huge year, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, added 34 catches and 2 touchdowns there. He was a stud workhorse, and it's pretty surprising that he was able to outdo what he did his first season as starter here. So we love Kieran Williams. Not sure about Corum. He's just kind of a handcuff for now. They're probably not going to add a running back in the draft. They could, but I think they like Corum and Rivers there. Now, if Cooper Kupp does leave, we're going to need receivers. You have Tutu Atwell, who I think is in a contract year. Demarcus Robinson, just a veteran. We do need to see more Jordan Whittington. That's probably the one guy if you're drafting best balls right now. I think Whittington performed very well in a lot of my advanced data studies, and he's probably going to slot as their number 2 receiver for me. Tyler Johnson was okay too, but we do need to bring in competition at receiver. We don't know if they're bringing back Atwell or Robinson, but drafting somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round I think could help this team out. And then tight end, we saw Higbee at the end of the year, and he looked good in the playoffs too. Colby Parkinson was okay, but they just didn't rely on the tight end enough for us to care about it for fantasy. But maybe Higbee's on our radar in 2025. But man, it's just, the Rams did it, man. They captured lightning in a bottle that one year they won the Super Bowl. But I think for now, we're looking at a team that's probably going to have to start refiguring things out. It looks like the Rams Stafford era might be over. Cooper Kupp era over. Enter the Puka Nacua, Kieran Williams sweepstakes. How are we going to figure out the Rams? I don't know. But let's and I don't mean to kind of just brush the Rams over, but there's just a lot of moving pieces here. They're going to have to find a quarterback. They're going to have to find some receivers to replace Kupp. And they have a lot of issues on defense and offensive line. The Rams, I would probably project the Rams to finish last in the NFC West if I'm projecting today, because I do like the Cardinals And again, 10-7, 10-7. I think we hit the point where things need to be stripped down and kind of rebuild to a more sustainable spot here. Alrighty. San Francisco 49ers, awful season. I don't even want to compare it to the 2023 year in which Christian McCaffrey was snubbed in the MVP voting by Lamar Jackson, but I digress. Everything sucked for the 49ers this year. Brock Purdy still played good despite not playing with Christian McCaffrey, but man, like Brandon Ayuk goes down. Christian McCaffrey out pretty much the entire season. Jordan Mason's a good runner. He's not a good receiving back or a dynamic guy, but he's a very good, he's kind of like a Najee Harris type running back. Garendo looked really good with his speed and long playability. He's a guy that I think could actually be someone to keep an eye on for Dynasty because we don't know if what we're going to see out of McCaffrey in the next few years, and he might be kind of cooked already. So the running back room, I like it. I think Mason's a free agent. I'd like to see him either come back or go get, maybe get some money elsewhere. But if they go into the year with McCaffrey and Garendo, I think that's fine. If they bring back Mason, that's fine too. But that's ideally the running back room is set. And technically the receiver room is set. We saw Juwan Jennings have a breakout year, 77 catches, 975 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He was the #1 receiver on this team here. He outplayed Debo. He outplayed, Ricky Pearsall had his own battles to get, with the bullet wound and things. But Ricky Pearsall came on hot late. And then Brandon Ayuk, who, got that bag of money. And then he wasn't playing good. The first month of football was really, really bad before he loses the ACL. And I do expect him to be ready for the start of the season. We're still drafting Ayuk, but we still have a lot of pieces here. Debo, Juwan, Ricky, and Ayuk. We have 4 really good receivers that we're going to have to figure out where the ball's going to. And I just don't know if I'm comfortable drafting one of these guys at the moment. I do like Ricky Pearsall, though. I think there's a chance Ricky Pearsall could be the sleeper that you need for 2025. And then George Kittle, just a fantastic – this is one of his best seasons, man. He was so efficient. Brock Purdy loved throwing to him. 8 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, 78 catches. Kittle's George Kittle, man. He's to me, he's the best tight end in football when you account for just all-around duties with blocking and roles and things like that. So I love George Kittle. But, man, this was a lost year for the 49ers. You got to pay Brock Purdy now. That Super Bowl window closed real quick. They got some things to figure out defensively, and this team just did not look the same without Christian McCaffrey. So I do wonder if they want to bring in more running backs just with life after McCaffrey. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with that. And I don't know if McCaffrey is a 300-touch player anymore at this point of his career with that calf and the Achilles injury. So, 49ers, man, lost season. And we're going to finish up here with the Seattle Seahawks. It was the first year of Mike McDonald and Ryan Grubb. I think they fired Ryan Grubb, though. But we did see awesome numbers all the way across the board. The Seahawks go 10-7 after going 9-8 the last 2 years. We saw the most passing attempts in my log here, almost 600 passing attempts, almost 70% completion percentage. Geno did throw over 70%. Geno threw for over 4,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and Geno can run the ball a little bit, 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. Geno Smith is good, man. I don't know if he's ever going to win a Super Bowl, but he's a functional quarterback, man. And he had a lot of fun throwing the ball to some of these weapons here. So I like Geno. I think Geno's the answer for 2025. They could maybe bring in another guy to compete with him as the backup or maybe be the future. But I think for now, the Seahawks still believe that this team that they have assembled can compete for a Super Bowl. So I expect them to just hold on to maybe Sam Howell as their backup and keep developing him. The running backs, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, really good 1-2 punch. And Kenneth Walker, man, he was a top 5 running back for a good portion of the year. He is a really good receiving back. We saw that for the first time, 46 catches. And then his running ability is still very, very good. It wasn't very efficient in 2024, just 3.75 yards per carry, 7 rushing touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet still, he looks really good too. We have 2 starting caliber running backs, and Charbonnet, he's been healthy for 2 years. He's been a really productive backup when they call upon him. I love this running back room of Walker and Charbonnet. I think I'm willing to draft Kenneth Walker, but you just have to keep in mind that his running style and his aggressiveness, he tends to miss a game or two, kind of like a James Conner would. And if anything does happen, Zach Charbonnet is a starting top 12 running back in those games here. So we love the running back duo. We got the JSN breakout, guys, and he was one of the guys that I was pumping. I was just shouting from the rooftops, draft JSN in 2024. So that felt really good here. He did lead the team, and that's one of my predictions that I had in 2024. He leads the way with 100 catches, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He is the slot receiver, and he was one of the reasons why Geno Smith had such a high completion percentage. We know DK Metcalf is less efficient with his targets. He still had 66 catches, just under 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns. These are your top 2 receivers going into 2025. I don't know if Lockett's got it anymore. I think this team could potentially add a veteran, a younger veteran, or, draft Lockett's replacement, because Lockett's just kind of running routes out there and not really earning targets. So I do want to see an upgrade here at receiver. I think Bobo's just a bench guy, Cody White, whatever, Laviska Shenault, whatever. But it's clear Lockett probably not happening anymore. But JSN, man, oh my goodness, he's a top 10, top 12 dynasty receiver going forward. And then the tight end position, they got something to Noah Fant. He only caught 1 touchdown, but 48 catches, 500 yards. They like AJ Barner too here, so keep an eye on him. I think the tight end room is probably set with Fant and Barner. We need to upgrade wide receiver 3 and 4 potentially, and the Seahawks just need to keep building that offensive line, keep building some defense. I think the Seahawks are on a good path right now. And Geno Smith, man, he's a good player. How old is Geno? Like 34? 34 years old. Turns 35 in October. They got maybe another year or 2 of Geno Smith to figure things out, but Sam Howell's the backup for now. Seahawks are still a little bit away from drafting a quarterback. One of them, there's just not a spot for them to draft a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round this year. So it wouldn't surprise me if they add one, but we're not going to see them draft like a Jordan Love or Pat Mahomes, 1st round replacement. So there you have it. The NFC West is done. I can sleep now at night knowing that I completed all 8 of these videos. A lot of time put into them. Thank you for watching. Check out the fantasyfellowship.com, guys. I'm posting free articles on there, tons of free data on there. And if you guys want to look at the membership, I'm starting to roll out some of my 2025 prospect data. There's dynasty rankings. I'm going to have a dynasty rankings update in March, and I'm going to put out my first rookie draft rankings for 2025. So a lot to look forward to in March. If you guys wanted to wait until March 1st to get the membership, that's fine. It's $8 a month. Otherwise, it's $50 for the full year. So that is the best deal. Or you can do a little 2-week trial for $5. So that's it from me. We'll see you guys in a future video. Thank you. Bye. Got me feeling icy.